place that we call church. And that we're divinely guided this morning.
welcome back. This is my season for grace and favor. This is my season to reap what I have sown. This is my season for grace, for favor. This is my season to reap what I have sown. You see, I haven't been perfect, but I've sure been faithful. God has a purpose, and I know God's able. I've got a seed in the ground that He's blessing, no more stressing. I've got a seed in the ground, and I know Him, I can show Him. This is my season for grace, for favor. This is my season to reap what I have sown. This is my season for grace, for favor. This is my season to reap what I have sown.
Working together for my good.
Everything is working together for my good. Sing it with us. Everything is working together for my good. Everything is working together for my good. And I said it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Working for my good. It's good. So good. It's good. Yes, it's good. It's good. Working for my good. It's good. It's good. So good. It's good. Working for my good. It's good. It's good. It's good. So good. It's good. Working for my good.
Season, favor.
This is my season for grace, for favor. This is my season to reap what I have sown.
Amen. Amen. So I'd like to take a moment to hold our community members in prayer around the transitions of their loved ones. I'm speaking truth for Ladine Rhodes in the transition of her partner, Dennis Jones. I'm seeking peace and calm for Evelyn Wesley and Brenda Byes in the transition of their mother, Miss Bertha Byes. And I'm seeking peace and healing and grace for Regina Woods, whose father made his transition this morning, Robert Woods. So when we speak of the truth of season, there is a season, there is a time. And for those who've made their transition, this is their season, their freedom, to release the body and move into a realm of whatever spirit and wherever spirit guides them. So in knowing this truth, I know that there's only one life. That life is God. It's whole, it's perfect, it's complete. It's my life. It's the life of everyone in this room and who can hear my voice and whoever thought about me this morning. It's your life too. So I'm lifting up what we know to be truth, that God is, and all is truly well, regardless of how it looks. I know there's healing in our prayers, healing in our compassion and our love for one another. So as we go forward in this day, in this time, I know that the music is healing. The word spoken lifts us and inspires us to continue on our journey of truth and peace. I'm blessing those who prepared the way this morning, our production team, our music ministry, Reverend FranCione, who I know is going to bring something that we need to hear. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for our health and wellness ministry who continue to provide the guidance for our safety in this space during this time of COVID. I know that all is well. And in knowing this, I am so grateful. I give thanks. I give thanks and I give thanks. And I allow my word to be by letting it go. And affirm with me by saying, and so it is. This is my season for grace, for favor.
Yes,
This is my season to reap what I have sown.
Yes.
This is my season for grace, for favor.
Yeah.
This is my season to reap what I have sown.
Thank you, music ministry. Thank you for indulging my singing too. It's all right. You know, I just don't have the words of how I feel right now. And most of you know me, I'm just going to keep it real. I spoke to Evelyn on Thursday, and I was in the room this morning with Regina and Ladine I've known for quite some time, and Dennis. So I feel their presence here today. I feel I can see Miss Bertha. I didn't know Mr. Robert, but I know Regina. And Dennis and Ladine go way back. So I'm just calling their presence forth. And however we never need to feel today, let's have those feelings. It's okay. It truly is okay. That's why we're here. We're here for each other. So thank you for that. So my name is Arlene King. I am the pulpit assistant today, and I'm so happy to be here and have you all here with us in the room. And I'm glad to have those who are watching us virtually with us as well. And I'm thanking you with an open heart. EASTBAY is an open and inclusive community. And someone reminded me, we're an affirming community, affirming the truth. And we welcome everybody. So if it's your first time with us, welcome. If you haven't been away for a while, welcome home. And everybody else in between. We just know that God is, and all is well. And if you're visiting with us for the first time, you can look in the chat, go to our webpage, and just let us know who you are so that we can stay connected with you. I want to thank NuDay for being here today, and Reverend FranCione. Reverend FranCione is bringing the message, Pulled by Inclusion's Vision. I know that's going to be good. That's been our theme for this month, Pulled by Vision, and this is what Reverend FranCione is bringing for. We look forward to hearing from her later today, as well as NuDay. So at this time, we'll hear and read together our sacred covenant, which will be followed by today's announcements.
There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all its blessed expressions. which includes the presence of a new minister for our beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of our new ministry is to glorify God, I therefore know that my new ministry is a revelation of God and love, as love. I further know that my new ministry is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by God, for it is written. True love has the power to heal and transform any situation that brings deep meaning to our lives. Love is patient. Love is kind. It always honors, always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails.
As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as a beacon of light, growing us with love and wisdom. Knowing that I and my beloved community must become that which we intend to bring forth and express in our new minister. I now know these truths about myself. I am inspiring, uplifting, and activating our community to live in harmony with all life. I am igniting individual and collective energetic movement towards spiritual truth and freedom. I am modeling and supporting profound levels of connection, healing, revealing, and growth in myself and community. I am cultivating an environment in which social justice and care for the needs of our greater community is part of our culture. I am engaging in mystical teachings and practices that support deep personal and collective transformation and connection to oneness. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will glorify God and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful, God is gracious, and so it is.
Good morning, East Bay. I'm Precious Green, and these are your community announcements. If you're visiting with us, welcome to our community of love. We are so excited you're here. If you would be so kind as to just take a quick moment and sign our guest book, all you need to do is go to www.ebcrs.org/welcome. Or you can simply use #visitor in the chat, and someone will follow up with you. We're so grateful you're with us this morning. You can reserve your Sunday seat right now. Just go to our website, www.ebcrs.org, and sign up, and we'll see you in person in the sanctuary on Sunday. To make this happen, we need volunteers. So please, if you have the time, be sure to sign up. We need ushers, greeters, people to help everyone guide and follow our social distancing protocols. So please consider signing up today. Now let's talk about what's going on in East Bay this week. Today at 11:30, our prayer room opens, so our licensed practitioners will stand ready to pray with you. Don't let anything weigh you down. Sit with them because they will affirm the truth of who you are. And at 12:30, don't miss our July community conversation. This is going to be another critical time together as we recap and follow up on your questions, concerns, and ideas from our June meeting. We'll be talking about our nominating committee as well as providing other updates. So don't miss it. That's 12:30 today, Community Conversations. And as always, you can access it through our website or using the link that will appear in the chat. This Wednesday, we are so excited. As always, our food angels are on it. Stop by and get yourself some fresh groceries and produce. This is available to anyone in the community. If you or someone you know would just like to get some fresh produce, please stop by. Look for the text message that will be sent out on Wednesday morning so you know what time to be here to pick up your box. And Wednesday evening, we invite you to power up with our own K. Suzanne Massey for our Wednesday Power Hour. As always, we begin with meditation at 6:15 and the service at 6:30. And finally, stay tuned for August here at East Bay Church. We are so excited because we are going to have a celebration of love. So many people have made this time possible, and we are going to take the time to recognize each and every one of them. I really encourage you to mark your calendars for August 22nd, which is going to be our grand celebration as we return to our sanctuary together. So look for more information on our website and in our emails, and we'll see you there. Have a great afternoon. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Precious, for those announcements. And everyone, go to the website if you want to know what's going on. But today I encourage you to attend our community conversations at 12:30. We'll do it via Zoom. All the information's in the chat. It's on the website. And you probably got a text if you are on our texting list to remind you about that today. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to talk a little bit about Reverend Dr. FranCione. Reverend FranCione is becoming a really important person in my life. Just her patience, her wisdom, her knowledge, just who she is. And my favorite words that she always says when we pray, come with me now. So come with me now. You'll experience Reverend FranCione shortly. I just wanted to thank you for being who you are and nudging me along in life on my spiritual journey. So I am excited about where we're going together, and East Bay is going together, and we look forward to hearing from you on your talk later this morning. Pulled by Inclusion's Vision. That's a lie. I just feel it already. Right now, I'd like to bring forth our music ministry today. We have NuDay with the guest. So I'll introduce them the best of my ability. Andrea Brimbry, Lisa Bayless, Shay Simone, our guest artist today, Daryl Thompson on drums, and Vanessa Wynn, and we know Regina Woods is with us in spirit. So I present to you NuDay.
This song is for you, Velvet. This song is for you, Regina.
Ashe.
Not by might, not by power, by your Spirit, God. Send your Spirit, God. Not by might, not by power, by your Spirit, God. Send your Spirit, God. You are the fire, we are the temple. You are the voice, and we are your song. You are our God, we are your people. You are the light, and we stand in awe. We stand in all of you. your love and into your light. Grace upon grace, beauty for ashes. You've come to us and we come alive. We stand in all of you. Oh, we stand in all of you. Not by might, not by might, not by power,
Not by power, by your Spirit, God. Send your Spirit, God. Not by might, not by power, by your Spirit, God. Send your Spirit, God. Not by might, not by power, by your Spirit, God. Send your Spirit, God. Not by might, not by power, by your Spirit, God. Send your Spirit.
breathe. Come and breathe on us. Spirit, breathe. Come and breathe on us. Spirit, breathe. Breathe on us. Breathe. Breathe on us. Breathe. Breathe on us. Not by might, it's not by power, it's by your Spirit, God. Send your Spirit, God. Breathe, breathe on us. Breathe, breathe on us.
Not by power, not by might, but by Spirit. Send your Spirit, Lord. Not by might, not by power. Send your Spirit. Oh, beloveds, we've had singing this morning. And I feel so uplifted, so expanded by the energy, the power, and the wisdom that flows out of the mouth, out of the heart, and out of the energy field of these beloveds who have brought our hearts together this morning. Good morning, East Bay. I am so thrilled to be here. And I especially want to honor the musicians. I want to honor the technicians. So I invite you to come and affirm with me what I know to be the truth. Oh, let the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable. Let everything that is done today everything that is said and experienced come forth from the nature and will of the eternal presence. Oh, let something that is said today answer somebody's question who's in this room or on this tape. Let something that is said transform error into belief, error into divine thoughts, error into actions that transcend into expanded energy of being. Oh, let us come together knowing that we are the human expressions of the living presence here on earth. And we are here to bring forth into our earthly plane the nature and the power of this eternal presence. The Centers for Spiritual Living's theme for July is Pulled by the Vision. Today I'm talking about Pulled by Inclusion's vision, igniting the call and the will and the willingness to change. We're talking about Pulled by Inclusion's vision. And I love the way the founder of our Science of Mind and Spirit philosophy talks about this as a foundation. For he says there is a center within you, within all of us, that already knows. Watch this now, because we're not saying it's something that there's something in you has to learn, something within you that already knows. And your challenge and mine is to open to the pattern of thinking that flows from this thinking, to open our minds and our hearts to allow it to flow freely as each one of us, freely from each one of us on into the earthly plane. This is what is referred to in the secret place as the secret place of the Most High. For it says in Psalms 91 in the Hebrew Bible, he that dwells, and I would like to say we that dwell, in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the protection of the Almighty. We that dwell in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow, the protection of the Almighty. I love the way Paramahansa Yogananda says, God is guiding me to do the right thing. And affirm that for yourself. The Infinite Spirit is guiding me to do the right thing. But it was on my birthday that I happened to be on my beloved Facebook and heard the Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith leading a meditation that lasted about 13 minutes that I did every day, twice a day, for the week of my birthday this month. For he reminds us that we are pushed by pain until we're pulled by a vision. Pushed by pain until we are pulled by a vision. So I ask you to consider for yourself, for our community center, for the nation and the world. How has your life been pushed by pain? How have you, individually and our spiritual community, been pushed and transported into stunning experiences after we've said yes to a vision that has come to or through us? How have you and our spiritual community been transported Oh, I remember a wonderful song that I'll talk a little bit more about later that's called Blessed Assurance. But the verse starts out with what I want to lay as a foundation for this talk today. For in Blessed Assurance it says, "This is my story. This is my song. Today I want to tell you my story in being pulled by Inclusion's vision." And it starts out this way. You see, in the early 1970s, before maybe some of you were even born, I was working in an advanced program at Far West Laboratories Responsive Education Program. I was working there in an education research and development program designed to provide staff development and workshops for kindergarten and third grade to third grade teachers and parents of the children. Parents of those children who were educated, low-income children. The pain, many of these children experienced difficulties in learning. Many of these children were not successful in traditional schools. This was the pain. I was asked to write one of the position statements, and I'd never done this before. But I love the way Spirit places me in places where I just am asked to do something that I didn't know about. And all of a sudden, I found out of my mouth comes yes. So I want to tell you a little bit about that approach so you can see how it related to the vision that came to me as I was working on it. The position statement was about 3 of our responsive approaches to supporting children to learn. They were to learn by using problem-solving methods. They were to learn as they were developing healthy self-concepts. They were to learn by using diverse cultures, values, methods, and practices while becoming competent in reading, language, arts, math, science, social studies, etc. I was asked to write the position statement that I ultimately began calling Cultural Pluralism in Responsive Education. To release the pain of teaching methods that were demeaning to people who were non-standard English speakers. Are you hearing me? To release the pain from those who somehow didn't have the competency to get beyond sometimes 8th grade and sometimes left the public schools because either they couldn't make it, some became incarcerated, some were just on the streets, and some were trying in school but kept not being effective. The strategy that was used in most of the classrooms, at least in the broader Bay Area, was the contemporary version at that time of the white Anglo-Saxon culture, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture. And that I know was taught by San Francisco State, where I attended, because the instructors told us so. That we are teaching you to learn how to be middle-class teachers, to learn how to be like the dominant culture, and to learn how to teach children to be effective as members of the dominant culture. This, my beloveds, was the pain that some of the children and some of the faculty members had where I taught at McClymonds High School, where I taught at that time, later on, at Castlemont High School, And the pain was often that somehow the curriculum doesn't suit the children that it's primarily serving, or even the teens. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We're talking about sometimes a vision comes when you're pushed by pain. Amen. And so as I began to explore, looking at researchers' research, after talking to cultural authorities of the many children that the districts that I worked with served, because we found that many of the schools had about 38 different language groups in their elementary school. Berkeley was also one of the districts that our program worked with, and 24 other communities throughout the nation. So we began to find that so many children were coming to school now with a variety of background, that to understand what we can do to support them so that they feel like they're in a culturally appropriate school for their needs, for their background, was the intention of the position paper that I was writing. Well, to stimulate change and the will to change for the kindergarten to third grade teachers that I was serving, it was interesting to me that I ended up creating many workshops, but one of them seemed very consistent with the song you folks just sang. For I called it Gardening for Multicultural Unity. Gardening for Multicultural Unity. And I want to tell you a little bit about the content of that workshop. For I began noticing that caring gardeners are responsive to the diversity of types of plants that are growing in their garden or that they're placing in their garden. Caring gardeners provide different quantity and frequency of water, different locations for light and shade within the garden, appropriate kind and amount of nutrients for each plant, and they seem to be different, thus being responsive to the nature and needs of different types of plants. How many of you know that already as gardeners? That if you don't place them in the right place, sometimes they will wither. If you don't give them the right nutrients and the kind of nutrients or frequency of nutrients, they will wither. If we don't give them the appropriate light and shade, something happens and they don't grow as prosperously. So it seemed to me that plants that grow flourishing with their nature being honored and acknowledged, watch that now, their nature being honored and acknowledged, not the nature of the person who is the gardener, but the nature of the plant, then you begin to find that those gardeners are being responsive to the plants that they are trying to grow. I began to determine and invited my teachers, students, and parent students that caring teachers and parents are responsive to the learning styles, to the values, to the language, family, cultural beliefs, to worldviews of students from diverse cultures, if they are actually going to help children learn. How many of you grew up in classrooms, regardless of where you were within the nation or within the world, where people were responsive to the culture that you came with? Raise your hand if you were experiencing people responsive to your culture, to your nature, to the values of your family. You see, right now, in the very room that we're in, I see no one with their hands up. So some of you may have had the experience that some of the students that I was working with and the parents that I was working with, because it was an extension of Head Start called Follow Through. And the parents were also being involved in programs that helped them to learn how to work successfully in their district so that their voice would be heard. I'm pleased to tell you that as a result of the position statement I made, I had the privilege of being able to work with parents and teachers in a few school districts in California as well as in Nevada. And after working with them, we actually wrote a document that then the superintendent of schools in Washington State decided to give that document to every primary school teacher throughout the state of Washington. We're talking about being pulled by a vision, and sometimes the activity is that you're to record, to write, and provide staff development or some kind of input to whoever is to learn it so that they can embrace the vision that you had. Years later, the call for releasing the pain of racism and discrimination and the pull of the vision, honoring diversity and equity, showed up again in the mid-1980s. Now, some of you who are longtime East Bay members have probably heard the former minister's version of this story. I want to tell you mine. You see, Reverend Eloise, her son, now Reverend Mawata, and I were in ministerial school together. And so it was interesting or challenging and painful, I want to say, to us. An incident occurred that we felt was racist, that we felt was oppressive, that we felt was demeaning. Not only in the textbook, I want to add that, our Science of Mind textbook had a phrase in there that seemed very demeaning, and I'm sure Reverend E. mentioned it. But we also discovered that among the three of us, one was saying, I think we need to leave. And I remember speaking up, and I've heard Reverend Eloise tell the community when the congregation was full. FranCione stood up and she said to us, not the whole class, but to us, we have to stay here. We have to fight against this so that we're making a change within the entire then United Church of Religious Science. And we all stayed. And we all decided to do some work. We didn't sit together in any organized, planful group. The three of us just went to Spirit and were guided to do what we were called to do. But I began to know that I found myself firmly making the statement, we can't leave, we must change the teaching and the belief. Spirit within us was guiding the three of us to follow the vision that I'd been called to honor while working with teachers in the public school system. Yes, beloved, you and I are called to bring our vision into form. So it's not enough to just open your heart and say, guide me. It's then to follow the guidance of what the vision brings forth, that you are then guided to know, what am I to bring forth? What am I to say? What am I to anchor within myself so I show up in a different way? And one of the joys that I had, having gone through working on that document that I described earlier, and by that time having my Ph.D. in education administration, I was first hired as a regional dean of the School of Ministry in Northern California. Then Reverend Kathy Hearn, who led our co-creation process here a little earlier in May, she hired me to come to work with her in San Diego, so that I was regional dean for Southern California for the Holmes Institute. And then, thank God, Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith was on the board, and he said, I think we ought to hire FranCione to be our international director of education for Holmes Institute, the School of Ministry. So they hired me for about 5 years to do that work. Now, why am I telling you all this? Primarily because I want you to know that when we go into the textbook on visioning, when we are guided to do some visioning, we're not talking about something that's only in our heads, but in the experience that some of you, no doubt, along with me, have had, where we were pulled by a vision to do something in the world that made a difference in not only our lives, but the lives of those who we were working with. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Because to me, it's important for us to begin to see that when we're called, our responsibility is to sense our own feelings, to know what we're thinking, to engage in actions, and then begin to move. So after being hired as the International Director of Education, I first began offering diversity classes as electives for those who are in the regions and in the School of Ministry. Now, I want you to know, after I retired, I love the way the Spirit doesn't let you go. We need to know the Spirit is always on the case. And so after I finished retiring, moved to Sacramento for a period of time, and then was hired by the Davis Church to be their spiritual leader. As soon as I left and I decided that wasn't for me and I wasn't for them, and though we loved one another and still do, I got a call from one of the black students who was in the Santa Rosa School of Ministry. She said, and this was Reverend D. Jacqueline, who wasn't Reverend at that time, come and work with the black students who've had an uprising, for I want something different to take place, and I want you to help us. The next day, the dean in Santa Rosa called me and said, would you come teach a class? And so I taught a class on teaching adult science of mind. And the thing that was delightful to me in being able to respond to their request, I said, can I use that book that has just come out by the president at Spelman that's called Why Do All the Black Kids Sit Together in the Cafeteria? And other conversations about race. That book covered every ethnic group within the nation. And I bought the current version of that same book about, 2 or 3 years ago. The author came to town, was at a bookstore in Berkeley, and Dr. Sandra Smith and I went to that bookstore and heard her talk about her current version. I've not read the current version, but I decided that with the presence of some of EASTBAY Church's members and practitioners, I want to teach that book because she talks about some of the various ways in which black kids are still sitting together in the cafeteria, and so are white kids, so are Asian kids, and I've certainly experienced that as a student at Berkeley High School, where different kids in ethnic groups were on the campus in different places. And I said, if we are a community that knows the infinite spirit is within everybody that shows up and everybody in the world, why are we lumping ourselves in small groups of like kind when we are here to learn and be with one another. So that's the class I'm saying to all of you, please plan to take the class when I offer it. Because I think it's good to have all that kind of information. Well, long story short about that, what I want to say is after Reverend D. Jacqueline asked me to come with her to work with the black students who did the uprising, including Reverend Dorica, she was a student in that class that you hear on a regular basis, and there were several others. We all got together. And what was beautiful to me is after they began talking about what their complaints were about the ministerial school that they were in, then I called for them to do some visioning with me. And the outcome of that visioning process was that we ended up being asked by the regional dean to write a curriculum for ministerial students that would include diversity. And I want you to know, after a year of working with other ministers and 2 other students internationally, we created the course that was called Psychology 606, now a requirement for all ministers within the world that are part of CSL. The class is entitled Diversity and the Ministry. And we wrote it, and now Tracy Brown seems to be teaching it all over the place. And so one of the things that I want you to know, we're talking about what does it take to persistently follow the dream, the vision, and bring it into form, not only because of something that you need to do, but because the world is calling it forth. Are you following me? Because we're inviting you to consider that we were bringing forth diversity, but I want to take a leap and tell you a little about inclusion. What moves me is to discover that inclusion has been thought about differently in the corporate world. And so I want you to know that I was very moved within the past year to have the privilege of working with my youngest son to do inclusion and diversity training with the staff at a local, almost within walking distance from here, grocery store. And because he had a background in HR, human resources, he had a book that he was using on inclusion in corporate settings. Now, I want you to know something about this because they were dealing with inclusion in a very different way than my background. But some of you have worked in corporate settings, so you may have experienced it. It was just that I hadn't because I was in the field of education and then came right on into the ministry. But in the field of the corporations, they were doing research on inclusion that let me know, and who they were writing for in a book by Jennifer Brown that's called Inclusion in the Workplace. She was discovering that corporations that practiced inclusion were actually gaining more financial gain than those who did not. Their bottom line economically was expanding. They were learning something that I didn't even know and never thought of as an issue. My background was, I thought when you just included more people and then honored their diversity, that was sufficient. That was my background. Now I began to see in corporate settings in the United States, as recently as 3 years ago, they are able to say, and let me give you some definitions of inclusion as they present it, so that I'm not making it up, that inclusion can be defined as when people of different groups are not just physically present, but involved, engaged, enabling each person to state to self and with confidence, my voice is being heard. Are you hearing me? I am respected as a contributor to the company. My supervisor wants my opinion. Are you hearing me? Now, some of you may have experienced this, but I hadn't. I'm eager to get up in the morning and have enthusiasm to go to my place of employment. Are you hearing me? How many of you are eager to get up in the morning? I'm retired. Retired, okay. Okay, retired, you can get eagerly up. Retired, in my case, was I can stay in the bed a little longer and meditate. So I wanted you to understand that they were defining inclusion in a way that said people of diverse backgrounds, voice is heard, voice is activated upon, voice is used, and when they studied it, they found that they had a greater financial prosperity for the business. Are you hearing about the importance of inclusion in the workplace? And I began to say, what would that mean to have inclusion in our spiritual community, where the voice of everybody is heard? And that's why Reverend Arlene has these twice a month meetings of the board with the community so your voice can be heard. Where the nominating committee is meeting with you this afternoon to be able to have your voice heard about things that we're doing and acting on to bring forth the new spiritual leaders and operational leader into our community. We're talking about inclusion, to hear your voice, to act on it, and make a difference that's taking place here at East Bay Church, that's making a difference in the broader community of the Bay Area, that makes a difference in our international centers for spiritual living. And so it seems to me that because people are becoming more engaged in the workplace, they begin to feel wanted, enthusiastic about going to work, eager to share their thoughts, and there's financial benefit. I began thinking, what would happen if our spiritual community was dealing with inclusion in the same way? Amen. You know, where we were asking for people's opinion and acting upon it, and East Bay does do some of that. Yes. But I think with the intention and the communities knowing of the benefit that corporations have that could happen right here in our community or the Centers for Spiritual Living community, and I got excited because I also began to think about this benefit could have benefit for our families as well. You see, our families sometimes need to know that even though they came out of the same wombs perhaps, or the same sperm bank, or we're getting down here, that what would happen if we began to do something that helped something be different than it has been with our families. And so I see that I'm over about 5 minutes, so I want to take about 5 more minutes, and then I promise I'll let you go. I just can't miss one of the ideas that came forth as I was reading this, because I think it can make a difference in the way we see things. One of the things that I enjoyed discovering is that in the book on inclusiveness, they said the golden rule, which is used by many religions and proverbs, Judaism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Yoruba Islam, Jainism, and stated in the Christian Bible, the golden rule is treat others as thou would be treated. What this book says, the golden rule doesn't work anymore. Now, you know that was a challenge to my grandmother, who's been long gone, but she sat up and she said, "What?" when she heard that. But then they began talking about the golden rule is out, the platinum rule is in. And then she said, the platinum rule is treat others as they would like to be treated. Ask others what that entails. So we're saying something different, and no doubt in all those many different communities that were using the golden rule, they primarily had a community of people who had similar backgrounds. So that if I treated you the way I wanted to be treated, it was consistent with our value system because we came out of the same language, group, or culture. Are you following me? Yes. The platinum rule says, let me find out what you believe and treat you in a way that's in harmony with that. If I don't leave you with anything else, that's one of the things I want to leave you with. Because it made a difference in what was taking place between me and my sister just before she made her transition. And I want to tell this 1-minute story. I think I can do it in 1 minute. As she told me about a month before she made her transition at age 75, when I was in Florida at my daughter's house, I was playing her piano and I was singing, "No, never alone, no, never alone. He promised never to leave me alone." Has some of you heard that song? Well, my grandfather used to sing and play that song. And what was amazing to me is that I had said to her, "Why were you singing that song?" Because many years ago, when we used to jog the lake together, she decided she didn't want to work with me, or run with me, or walk with me any longer, as long as I was going to talk about God. Now, I could use the word principle, but she was no longer using the word God and didn't want to hear me. And so she would say when I started talking about it, because that was when I was in ministerial school and taking signs of mind classes and so forth, she would say, "I'm going this way. Why don't you go that way?" So we don't have to hear what the other is saying. So I knew for a long time that she was more Marxist than she was involved in anything that related to the God that I was serving. So as I conclude this particular point, I just want you to know that she had sung that song while she was at her daughter's house, and I said to her, "Why are you singing that?" And she said to me, "Because that's all I know." And so at that particular point, I knew that I had to go home. I was living in San Leandro at the time. I had to go home and rewrite some of the songs that we had sung over the years so that they were in alignment with what she did understand. And she knew what love was about as it came from family and friends. So when we sang Blessed Assurance, she could sing, "This is my story, this is my song." We would say, as we've grown up, praising the Savior. She would say, with me, because I rewrote and gave her the words before she made her transition, "Loving friends and family all the day long." I want you to know we had a moment, and within the next half an hour, while we held hands, she made her transition. Amen. With friends and family present, loving her. Yes. So I say, as I conclude this talk, and there's many more things I could have said, I just want you to know that I was delighted the other day when I heard Billy Porter talking to MJ Rodriguez. And then she started to sing. And by the way, Makaya J. is known as a transgender, I think, beauty actress and soloist. She started to sing this song. I want to just give you a few of the words, but NuDay is going to help me out. Speak it when you feel it. I got something to say. Seems like every time we try to make it better, we just can't get through. It's a sign that we should speak the way we're feeling. Isn't that what we're talking about with inclusiveness? That we should speak the way we're feeling. I'm going to ask Vanessa to go ahead and have NuDay sing that song before I do the closing prayer.
Love, you know you really got a hold on me, and I just want to figure this out. We don't have to do this alone if we try to come together as equals, starting over today. I got something to say. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba. I got something to say. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. I got something to say. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. I got something to say. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Love, you know you really got a hold on me, and I just want to figure this out. We don't have to do this alone if we try to come together as equals, starting over today. I got something to say. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. 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 Black and brown and yellow and white, let's stand for something, love tonight. Black and brown and yellow and white, let's stand for something, love tonight. Black and brown and yellow and white, let's stand for something, love tonight. I got something to say. I got something to say. I got something to say.
We got something to say.
Thank you, NuDay and Vanessa. Vanessa had to work on that one. She couldn't find the music. So I want you to know she brought it forth, and thank you. You just gave light to.
Anything for you. Anything for you.
Yeah. So come with me now as we go within, as we declare and know that all of us have something to say, and that we have the consciousness to listen to the divine as it shows up, as each person who is around us, each cultural group within our nation and in the world, all who are open and receptive to being the place through which the living Spirit speaks, moves, feels, and has its being as each one of us. Oh, I give thanks that we are being drawn to do that work, to engage in that activity that is calling from the depths of our heart, and the power of the living Spirit that is always expressing itself through us as we are willing. I give thanks right now for this service. I give thanks for all the people who we've discovered have made their transition and are no longer in the physical form to do that work, that service that they had been doing on the earthly plane. Oh, let us use their wisdom, their activity as a guide for our own lives, that we can bring forth a magnificent opportunity within our spiritual community, within our local Bay Area, within the world, to bring forth the goodness of the living Spirit right here, right now on earth. For this and so much more, I joyfully give thanks as I lovingly surround our family of East Bay Church, our family of the United States, our family within the world, to bring forth the love, the joy, the peace, and the magnificence of the living Spirit right here, right now on earth. For this and so much more, I joyfully give thanks as I lovingly release this word unto the law, accepting right here and right now, it is done. And so it is.
Thank you, Reverend FranCione. For doing a 45-minute talk. We didn't even know that. It was 45 minutes. It's all right. It's all right. So thank you so much. It is now time for gracious giving. It's time for our seeds to sow, reap what we sow. We've had a wonderful time here today, and we know that our time is blessed. So affirm with me our affirmation for giving. Today I joyfully give. Today I joyfully give.
Joyfully give.
Today I give prayerfully. And I give with thanksgiving. There are many ways for us to give. You can see them on your screen and in the screen in the room. And for those in the room, we will not pass the basket. As you leave today, we ask that you put your gift in the basket. And I'll bless the offering now, knowing that what we receive comes to us pressed down and running over. And we, in return, do the same, giving back to the world as part of our mission of transforming the planet. So I'm giving thanks for the gift and the giver, knowing that everyone gives from their heart. And I allow this to be, and so it is.
Bless me, bless me, oh Lord, bless me indeed, enlarge my territory, oh Lord, bless me indeed. I pray for increase. Bless me indeed. I pray for increase. Bless me indeed. I pray for increase.
And so now, as we come together in consciousness, we give thanks for this time together. We give thanks for the activity that brought each person into this very room. We give thanks for the beloved members of our community who are physically present, those who are on the Zoom or Facebook call. We give thanks right here and right now for the love, the peace, and joy of this time together. For this and so much more, I joyfully give thanks as I lovingly release this word unto the law, accepting right here, right now. Go in peace, go in joy, and go with the consciousness of inclusion. Blessed be.
I want to begin by thanking Vanessa for inviting me to share a song that I wrote several years ago. I began writing music, to my own surprise, about 6 years ago. And most of what I write are jazz ballad type of music. But interesting that Reverend FranCione should say, sometimes a vision comes when you're pushed by pain. I had to write that down because that's the source of many of my songs. And I had just finished writing a song that I called My Serenade. It was a ballad to a lover. And when I put the pen down, Spirit told me to pick the pen back up and write this tune that you're going to hear sung by the amazing vocalist Tammy Brown. It's called My Serenade. It's the gospel version. And really, Spirit wrote this tune. I just got out of the way. All the lyrics, everything was written in a moment. So thank you, Vanessa, for the opportunity.
Serenade me home and talk to me at night. Be the face I see in the early morning light. Wrap me in your love, shower me with grace. Be the hand I hold, be that ever quiet place. Help me know you're there. Times when I can't see, when I lose my way. Oh, blessed one, guide me.